Hello everyone, and welcome to the very first lesson of the Pain-Free Breakthrough program. I'd like to personally welcome you and big well done for investing in it, for investing in your own physical and mental health. So just to introduce you a little bit to what's going to happen in the next weeks. So basically this program will help you tackle the root causes of your chronic pain or even chronic symptoms, okay, from various angles, because I believe that there are so many factors involved in the generation of pain. And up until now, I feel that the TMS community has been a little bit divided. There were these people who believe that just tackling the repressed emotional causes behind chronic pain will solve the problem. There are these other set of people who believe that it's tackling the way you deal with the pain and the way you react to the pain that will help you solve the problem. But I feel that, in a lot of cases, there's all these different factors that have to be tackled. You can't tackle one factor in isolation and forget all about the rest, right? So, okay, for those who are not familiar at all with mind-body connection, I'm just going to explain the main principles of this lesson to get you started. So basically, I start off this lesson with an example, right? I get you to think about a time when someone maybe gave you a fright. Maybe you heard some bad news, maybe you thought that something bad had happened, okay? And if you think back to that situation, I guess you will remember how your heart rate started to increase, how your heart started to pound in your chest. Maybe your arms and legs also started to shake. Maybe you needed to go to the bathroom. Okay, so what do I mean by this? So in that isolated experience, what you were experiencing was a real physical change to an emotional experience. So the emotional experience was actually you hearing this shocking news, okay? So it's just your brain registering this shocking news. The physical experience is your heart rate actually increasing, your body actually starting to shake, okay? Feeling those unpleasant sensations in your chest, in your stomach. So if you were really to measure your heart rate back then, you would see that it actually really increased. So it's not just in your mind that the increase took place, but actually physically your body responded to this emotional experience. And this thing happens all the time, guys. And it's a very normal process. The problem is that when it comes to chronic symptoms, okay, that have been around for a long time, we don't usually associate this kind of process with these symptoms. We think that there's something physical, solely physical going on. Something like a damage, like an injury, like an abnormality, like a condition that happened to you out of the blue. When, if you were really to look into it, and once you start learning about TMS in this program, you will find that it's not the case. You will find that even with chronic symptoms, even with physical pain like back pain, migraines, leg pain, sciatica, piriformis pain, you can actually feel this kind of pain as a result of what's going on emotionally. And now with chronic pain, it's a little bit different to the situation of receiving the shocking news, because when you receive this shocking news and then you realize it's going to be okay or it's an isolated event, usually, your heart rate goes back to normal and everything goes back to normal. So it's a temporary physical change there. But with chronic pain, it's kind of a long-lasting physical change that's going on. So what this means is that the emotional experiences going on up here, what's happening up here, the stress, the negative emotions are also long-term. So typically in cases of chronic pain and symptoms, they are there as a result of a long-term emotional experience. Sometimes not so. Sometimes we can find ourselves in a really scary and threatening situation and we would feel some sort of pain or other symptoms. But when they last over months or years, it means that somehow we are still replaying that emotion, that attitude in our heads. We are still feeling it rather. It's not just in the head, but it's like felt in the body, right? So this is the main principle, the main lesson I wanted to deliver in this week. It's that it makes sense to experience physical symptoms as a result of an emotional experience, even when you think that you are not stressed and you don't have too many problems. So why does this happen? So as you might know, my teachings are based on the teachings of Dr. John Sarno, who was a professor of rehabilitation medicine in the USA and who is responsible for healing so many people from back pain and other conditions. He was the one who discovered or came up with the concept of TMS, Tension Myositis Syndrome, which today is also called Neuroplastic Pain. And according to Dr. Sarno, what was happening in these chronic pain patients of his that were not recovering with conventional treatment was that they had certain repressed emotions, okay? So certain emotions that they didn't feel capable of consciously dealing with, okay, that they were denying to themselves because they wanted to live a normal life. So repressed emotions can be anything from feelings of insecurity, but you don't quite want to tell yourself that, from conflicts you've had with your partner or family, okay, and which you're trying to forget about or you're trying to forgive people for them, from the feeling that you might not be successful, or the fear that you might lose something precious, that you might lose money, that you're insecure in your job, in your relationship, okay? All of these emotions sometimes are so strong that we automatically, as a survival mechanism, we automatically repress them because we cannot deal with the fullness of them, right? But what happens if we don't process them eventually? If we keep repressing them, what happens is that we reach a certain boiling point, right? It's as if our body, our inner self, cannot take it anymore. And that's when we sometimes develop physical symptoms or illnesses. So these symptoms, according to Dr. Sarno, serve as a distraction, kind of distraction, or warning sign maybe, from these repressed emotions. So nowadays we don't know exactly whether the symptoms serve as a distraction. They do in a sense, because then the symptoms capture your full attention and you're solely focused on the symptoms. But at the same time, I also like to consider the fact that the symptoms are also a warning sign, right? A sign telling you to stop what you're doing, that you need to solve something, okay? In fact, what happens in some cases is when people get severe symptoms, they have to stop working, for example. They have to stop caring for other people, okay? They can't afford not to. So before, while these people had been trying to push through their everyday life, trying to push through their stressful life, the symptoms finally get them to stop, okay? So this is the purpose of the symptoms. They get you to stop what you're doing and maybe take a break, maybe take care of yourself. Sometimes it works and people recover fast after they realize, how stressed they've been and after they have a little break due to their symptoms. But the problem is, with chronic symptoms, when we start to get symptoms over the long term, there's yet another factor involved, and that's the factor of fear of the symptoms themselves. So when we get intense symptoms that traumatize us, okay, we obviously fear getting them again. And so as not to get them again, or to prevent ourselves from getting these symptoms again, we start to engage in certain behaviors, we start to engage in certain habits. We build the belief that our body is prone to harm, it's prone to injury, so we kind of shield ourselves and we basically live in fear. So that's more fear and stress added to the previous stress levels that have maybe fueled the symptoms. So even when the original stressor is gone, you're left with the fear of recurring pain or symptoms, the fear that there's something wrong with you, that this will disable you for life, or that the symptoms will recur again if you're feeling better. So this crippling fear is also what makes pain persist in the long term, and this is also an element that you will be working on a lot in this program, okay? So just to summarize, there are various factors at play. So one of them is the emotions that we feel and the stressors. When we can't take it anymore, when we repress our negative emotions, then pain might manifest as a result. That's Dr. Sarno's theory. But also then the stress and the fear and the negative emotions, the disappointment, the frustration that we feel when we get the symptoms themselves. So this is why it's very important to look at both of these aspects. And you will be doing this as you work through the program, because you want to tackle your pain holistically, right? You want to learn how to react and behave around your pain. You also want to learn more about yourself, about your personality, what makes you anxious, what you are really scared of besides the pain, okay, or symptoms. You really want to get deep into the self-awareness work to make sure that you know yourself better, to establish the links as well between the symptoms and your emotional experiences. Because once you establish these links, you will have so much more confidence to go on, to move forward with the program, knowing that, you know, this is it. This is what's happening to you. So it's a journey of building confidence. It's a journey of gaining knowledge, new knowledge for some, okay, about how the mind and body work in relation to chronic pain. It's a journey of self-awareness, and I encourage you to take your time with it, but to also stay consistent, okay? So after every lesson, which includes both a video and an essential reading, okay, you've also got weekly exercises or tasks that you should be completing, and these tasks will help you actually apply what you've learned to your own personal situation. Okay, so it's not just about learning a concept, but it's also examining and reflecting on how it applies to you specifically, because I realize that we're all different. So in order for this to work, you have to really get clear on how whatever you've learned applies to your personal situation. So that's the aim of this program. I encourage you to join the Facebook group, the Pain-Free Breakthrough community, so we can ask questions there and you can find some more inspiration. And that's it from me. So I leave you to carry on with the essential reading. There's also the option of listening to the audio if you prefer. I encourage you to take commitment, which is going to be one of this week's tasks, and wish you all the best. I don't want to say good luck, because it's not a matter of luck. It's a matter of determination, commitment, okay, and gaining new knowledge basically. All right, so I'll see you next time. Take care, and once again, welcome to the Pain-Free Breakthrough program.